Hi guys, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm gonna give everyone a couple minutes to join us. So we'll just give everyone maybe 4 minutes to join us and then we're gonna start. This is what we're gonna draw today because it's super close to St. Patrick's Day. So we're gonna be celebrating by drawing this super, super fun, colorful drawing. And I will go through all our supplies in a second. So we'll just wait for everyone to join us and then we'll start and I'll go through everything that we're gonna need for today, but honestly, just a basic standard set of pencils is good. But yeah, I will go through all of that in a second. In the meantime, feel free to let me know where you guys are joining from. From Italy, yes, that's awesome. All right, that's my camera, it's refocused. Great, great, great. So we'll just wait a couple more minutes to make sure no one is missing because we don't want anyone to miss it. And then we'll start. If you guys have any questions so far, feel free to ask them in chat. I will try to check chat every now and then and respond to any questions that I will see there. Yes, that's right. Time for some arting. Hi guys. Hi Emma. Okay, so 2 more minutes. Snowy New York, Italy. Great. So we have some snow here too. Lots of snow. It's not snowing currently, but there's lots of snow laying around. This is not acrylic, this is actually drawing. So just colored pencils. This is my set right here, but you don't need that big of a set. We're only going to use a couple colors, which I'll go through in just like a minute. Just want to make sure no one is missing it. Being considerate to everyone. Is it hard? No, not at all. You're going to love it. Just have to make sure we're not missing anyone. And then we will start. Hi from Australia. That's awesome. What is the weather like there? I am very, very curious. So if you can let us know, that would be awesome. All right, so hopefully we have everyone. Snowing. Yeah. Right, hopefully we have everyone. And if we are still missing someone, hopefully they will join us very shortly. Hi from Idaho. Awesome. Thanks for joining. If you guys are new, I just want to let you know up front, this video tutorial, this live tutorial is being recorded. So it will stay right here on our YouTube. You can come back and do it any day. There is no rush. You don't have to do it today. You don't have to do it right now. You can come back and do it any day. Also, I'm going to be going at my speed here. But if you find that you need a bit more time for any step, That's okay. You can always rewatch it. Sometimes what people will do, they will just hang out with us as we paint or draw, and then they will do it from the video later, because with the video you have an option to pause it and maybe break the project into more of a couple settings or even a couple days. However, this is not a difficult project, so I don't see you trying to break it into a couple days, but generally just to let you guys know. And even as we are live, you can still rewind and rewatch the sections of the video. So that's a really cool feature. All right, so let's go through everything that we will need for today. First thing you're going to need is a paper. I'm using this drawing. Actually, this one is mixed media paper, 7 by 10 inch, but you're welcome to use any paper. It doesn't have to be a particular paper, whatever works for you. Second thing you're going to need is a regular HB pencil. So nothing fancy, just a regular pencil. HB is great. If you don't have HB, any pencil will do. You're gonna need a sharpener, an eraser of some kind. You're gonna need a Q-tip or maybe 2 Q-tips, a couple Q-tips, good to have as well. And we're gonna need a couple different pencils. So here are my pencils. As I was creating it, I was writing down which colors I use and which numbers. So you're welcome to use the same exact colors and numbers if you have them. If not, anything similar is just fine. So we're gonna need a couple different shades of green. I use 3 different shades of green, but 2 shades of green is totally fine. You don't have to have 3 if you don't have 3. Not a problem. If you do have 3, great. If you don't, totally fine. So my first shade of green is this one. You see, it's like, I would say just a really medium green. So this is the green everyone usually uses for the beer. So the green beer, that's the green beer color, I would say. So I'm going to put the color right here so you can see it better. This is what it looks like. That's my medium green. Then my second green is going to be a light green. So any light green will do. In my case, you see it's like a lime green, I would say, or like a light grass green. That's going to be my second color right here. And my third color is going to be more like a dark swamp green. Again, yours don't have to be that particular. I just like having a darker color. So any darker color will do. Whatever darker color you have is great. This is mine. You see it's a little bit on the dimmer side. It has like a bit of swampiness to it. Totally, you can do it with paint. Absolutely. It will be different technique, but you're more than welcome, for sure. So that's my darker green. So I have my 3 greens. I will also be using yellow, so any yellow will do. There's no particular shade of yellow that you have to use. Whichever yellow you got, awesome. Just use that one. This is my yellow. And we'll also need orange and every single color for our rainbow. So we have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. So for the red one, I'm going to use, again, it doesn't matter which one, but I'm going to use more like a fire truck, orangey red. Yeah, you guys are more than welcome to try any medium you would like. Whatever medium works for you, go for it. The technique might vary because I am basing this tutorial specifically on my material, but it doesn't mean you can do this with any other. You absolutely can. It's just certain things will not apply to you. So for example, if I say Q-tip it, you're not going to need to Q-tip it if you're using any other medium, because Q-tipping only would apply to colored pencils. But again, you're more than welcome to use other mediums. It's going to be slightly different technique. And you're going to need light orange or orange. In my case, I use quite light orange. This is what I'm going to be using. But if you want to use dark one, totally fine. I just feel like it's a better contrast with my red. So that's why I'm going to use light orange. And I'm going to use one light blue, fairly light. It's not like a crazy light, but it's not dark either. This is my blue. Just a nice light blue for my rainbow. And I'm going to use purple, brown, and black as my last 3 colors. So for purple, I'm going to go with fairly dark one. I mean, it's not the crazy dark, because if you go super dark, you're not even going to see that it's purple, but it's on a darker side. and brown and black as my two colors. Any shade of brown will do. I'm only going to use brown for my gold just to highlight it. So grab any brown you think is appropriate for that. I will grab, I would say fairly light brown. No, that's not the one. Let's see. This is the one I used. So do you see it's fairly light brown, a bit on the orangey side even, but it looks like brown when you draw with it. Yes, you should, Vicky. Nice to have you. And I'm going to use black. All right, so here are all the pencils that I'm going to be using for this tutorial. And again, you guys are welcome to switch things around. They don't have to be exactly that. But actually, first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to start with just a regular HB pencil, and I'm going to sketch everything because I can't do this until I sketch it. So you don't need any of that for now. I'm going to put my big set of pencils away. I'm not going to be using them yet. I'm going to put those aside too for now. I'm just going to grab my regular HB pencil. And the first thing that I'm going to start with here is I'm going to start with one circle for my pot. And I would say if this is the middle of my paper, I'm going to go a little lower than a middle. So somewhere right here. You can do it straight in the middle, just a little lower than the middle, or you can do it a little bit on the left if you want to have a bit more space for the rainbow, but lower middle is just fine as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a little circle. It can be big, can be small. Totally up to you what size. Whatever size you want to have your pot of gold, that's how big you're going to put your circle. All right, great. Now that I have that, I'm going to chop off the top. So now it's a circle, and we're going to add another oval and kind of chop off the top there. So somewhere right here. We're going to add an oval. You see, it chops off the top of our pot. And then you can go ahead and erase that top of the circle. Great. Awesome. And now that I have that, I'm going to add the rim. So I'm just going to add another circle that's a little bit further. Great. Now I have the rim as well. That's our pot of gold. And I'm going to add a little legs to my pot too. So I'm going to do a little leg on one side and a little leg on the other side. So it's not just floating. Yes, the video will be available. You can watch anytime after. And once I have that, I'm going to move on to my hat. So right here, I'm going to position my hat. And I'm going to start by just putting a little oval again that crosses my pot. You can make your hat big or small. Again, that's entirely up to you how big or small you want it to be. Now it looks like a lid pretty much. Yeah, no problem. And once I have this lid, I'm gonna add the top of my head. So from the middle, I'm gonna put like a little dot here to make sure my head is actually straight, right? So it's not tilted and somewhat proportional and, not made by a person who don't know how to make hats. I'm gonna put a line in the middle. So this, if you were to put line in the middle here, just imaginary line, and then put this line in the middle, that should be a 90-degree angle. Just you're putting basically your middle line. And then once you have that middle line, you're gonna add another oval on top. And then two sides. So basically we're trying to make sure that our hat is, this upper part is right in the middle of the bottom part, and that is, symmetrical. Left side and right side are the same. Hi, Tina. So glad you joined. All right, and now we can tell that our hat is structurally sound, which is important for a hat. You don't want your hat to be wonky wonky. And I'm gonna add another little circle oval underneath here. So basically a second line parallel to first line to have the thickness of the hat. Because right here, I want to color my hat. I don't want my hat to be a paper thin. I want it to have a nice thickness. So I'm going to add that. You don't have to add it at the back part. So this part doesn't require the second line. It's only the front part that requires it. Hey, Jay, I'm in Oshawa as well. You're my neighbor. That's cool. Great. So that's it for the hat. The only thing we have to do is decorations, which are super easy. And you, by the way, are welcome to decorate your hat however you want. So this is my decoration, very classic St. Patty's Day hat decoration. But get creative. If you want to add a clover leaf onto the hat, do that. If you want to add anything else onto the hat, do that. Whatever you want to add to the hat, go for it. Use your imagination, but I'm gonna stick with my classics and Patty's decoration. So I'm gonna add a little, I would say that's probably a black ribbon. And I'm gonna add a little buckle here with another ribbon. So I'm gonna start with a ribbon. And then I'll add the little buckle. So I'm gonna add a little square using the width of my ribbon as a base. And I'm gonna clean up inside of it too because it's gonna be yellow, so you don't want it to be filled in with dark. So something like that. And you can round up your ends. I will be rounding up my ends. Square is fine too. I mean, again, wherever your imagination takes you. I'm gonna round up my ends a little bit. And I will add a little element right here. And that is also done. And I'm gonna sharpen my pencil because I find that it's got a little too dull and it's just leaving the lines that are a little too wide for my liking. So let's sharpen it up. Oh, hi, Scarborough is pretty close too. That's nice. All the neighbors. All right, sharper pencil. Great, 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 great. Now I'm going to move on to my gold and I'm going to add my gold into my pot of gold. And those are just going to be a rounded, a little oval coins in no particular order. Some of them are going to be overlapping others. Some of them are going to be more visible than others. There's going to be a pile of them. So we're going to bring it a little bit higher here. And of course, I'm going to erase what's underneath. That's a build your own kind of pot of gold. You know, you can make this into a pot of candy too. You can put a whole bunch of candies inside. If that's more of your kind of treasure than gold, candy will work. You can make it into a pot of, you know, beer too. Anything, pot of anything that works for you works for me. And then, well, actually, I'm not going to add this gold on the bottom just yet because that's more of a space filler gold. I'm going to add that in the end. But what I will do next is I will do my horseshoe in the middle. And I'm going to start by putting one line, so almost like a parallel to this line, just down. So parallel to this line, just down, similar line right here. And I'm going to add a little U in the middle. And I'll follow this line. And I'll add the sides. Right, and that's my horseshoe. I'm gonna write good luck on my horseshoe, but again, you can write anything that you want. So just gonna quickly zone out where my letters are gonna go. That looks about right. And we'll add a little decoration. Great, 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 great. Now I'm gonna move on to my clover leaves, and I'm gonna do 3 leaf, 3 leaf, 3 leaf, 3 leaf, 4 leaf. So I'm gonna start with this one, the biggest one here, then 2 smaller ones. So I will decide where the middle is. I'll say the middle will be somewhere here, and I'm just gonna put a little hearts. One towards this side, one towards the middle, so that's one. I will do slightly smaller one here and slightly smaller one here. Right, that's one side. Now second side, I'll do a really big one. So this one, I can't really see the last one. I'm just assuming it's there. So I'll do one part. Second part. And I'll do third one partially. And we'll do a 4-leaf one somewhere here. What are you gonna? You can add as many of those as you want and position them anywhere that you feel like is good for your drawing. All right, awesome. So now the only things that are left for us to sketch is a rainbow and our gold. So rainbow, I'm not even going to sketch. If you wanted to, you can just indicate where the beginning and the end would be, or you can just leave it and go with the flow once we move on to colors. I find that rainbow is not necessarily to sketch. It's much easier to just freehand it. However, if you prefer to know exactly where things go before you move on to adding them, totally fine. Feel free to add the rainbow. Not a problem. I'm just going to move on to adding my gold, and you're just going to lay coins up front, some bigger, some smaller, just a variety of sizes and angles. And you're going to give your coins a bit of the thickness too, so they don't look paper thin. All right, I think that's a good amount for coins for me personally, so I'm gonna stop. So guys, I'm gonna give you a tiny little minute to finalize the sketch, and I'm gonna lighten up mine just a little bit. I'm not a big fan of starting with a very, very harsh outline. This is not too bad actually. And for this particular drawing, it's fine because everything is quite contrast. There is no soft edges or soft details. So it's not a bad thing to start with a harsh outline, but I'm still gonna lighten it up just a touch. But again, I'll give you guys a tiny little minute to finalize it, and then we're gonna move to coloring. Oh, and by the way, guys, as I wait for everyone and give everyone a minute, um, hey, if you know anyone you think is perfect for joining our team, we're looking for some awesome, awesome people. So if you have a cousin who's really good at art and you're like, oh, they would fit in, let us know. Send us a message. Send your cousin our way. All right, so I think we're gonna move on to coloring. And now, guys, that we have our sketch, always try to use a paper towel, even from the beginning, but from the beginning I find just on the sketching part, it's not always possible, and it's not always, the most comfortable thing to do, and it's not super important, but once you're past sketch part, really try to do your best to rest your hand on a piece of paper towel or a separate piece of paper, just so you don't rub um, oils from your skin. By doing this, you're going to be going over and over and over, right, with this motion. So you don't want to rub in the oils from your skin into the paper, because then it's not going to accept the pigment from your pencil. So it's going to go on slightly blotchy and just not pretty. And so you don't rub all this pigment, so you don't create a mess. You just try to use it whenever you remember. Okay, and it doesn't really matter where you start specifically on this drawing. There are many different places where you could start. I think I want to start with my pot of gold, but again, that would be a preference. You could start anywhere. So I'm going to start with my pot of gold, and I'm just going to use my black. So first, let's go around the outline a little bit. We'll just darken it up a touch. We'll shade a little bit here too. Great. Now I'm gonna darken up the rest of the outline. Generally, I find the pot of gold, to be honest with you, the trickiest part of this whole drawing, because A, it's really hard to make black gradient look smooth, and B, it's the biggest element. I find the rest are easier and less, they will take less work and less effort to make them look pretty, because they're smaller elements and they're colorful, which already makes them look nicer, right? This one is so gray. So yeah, I want to get it out of the way. The sooner the better, so we can move on to the fun stuff and the pretty things. But again, you may feel opposite. You may feel like, no, that's the fun one. The rest is blah. This is the fun one. I find this one least fun. All right, so after I have dark outline onto everything, I'm going to start shading. This is just a lot of shading for this pot. And we're aiming to have this side a little bit lighter than the side. So I'm going to be shading. I'm actually going to put this one away for now because it's right under my hand. And I'm just going to start shading. I'm going to be shading using my pencil quite low to the paper. So instead of doing this, I'm going to do that. So the larger area comes in contact with my paper, which is easier for shading. And I'm just going to go and start shading in this rounded motion, following the shape of my pot. And try to have it as smooth and as even as possible. So you don't want to see a lot of gaps between your little lines. So you don't want it too linear. You want it as least linear as possible. All right, so you see I have one layer of shading. It's nowhere near what I want it to be, but it's a start. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab my Q-tip, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to Q-tip it. And here's the difference. I'll show you Q-tip section and not Q-tip section. You see, this is a Q-tip section. This is not a Q-tip section. Q-tip kind of smudges it all and create more even grayer surface, which is awesome for the first layer, because then it gives us more uniform tone and more uniform, better coverage. You see, it looks way more solid after smudging it. And now I'm going to start darkening up my left side here. So I'm just going to go over the left side again. I'm just going to try to build in a bit more intensity there. Maybe a little bit around the edge again. Around our horseshoe. And then I'm going to really start building that intensity by pushing harder on my pencil because this area still needs to get quite a bit darker. So it's just with every layer, I push a little harder and harder and harder and build that intensity. All right, I'm pretty sure I'm happy with this. So I'm going to stop on my pot. I think I like it. And later on, once I add all the other elements, if I feel like, no, it needs a bit more work, I can always go back to it and add more. The only thing I haven't added yet is my little legs. So I'm going to go ahead and add those little legs. And I'll sharpen my pencil right away because you can see it's super dull. Just in case I need it for later, which I will. I know that for sure. So let's just sharpen it before I put it away. It's always good to, have your pencils ready to go instead of needing it and being like, oh, and it's dull. Uh-oh. All right, I have my block. And after you have this, I mean, you could Q-tip it, but I find that after this, I don't want to Q-tip it anymore. I'm happy with this, the coverage that I have. But what I do want to do before moving forward is I'm going to clean up. Because sometimes as you shade, things just get a little messy. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up wherever my black went into any other sections. I'm going to clean it up. Just not a lot in my case, but there is a little bit. I would not like to have where it is. Right. And I will add a little bit of shadow underneath my pot as well, which you could do with black now or later too, entirely up to you. I'll do it now because why not? So again, I'm going to take my black. If you have gray, you can even use gray. It might be easier, especially if you're a beginner and you have gray, great, use gray. In my case, I have black, or I actually do have lots of grays, but I'm trying to minimize the amount of pencils I use here. So I don't use lots of pencils, and it's possible to do it with a very small set of pencils. So I'm just going to stick with my black, and with next to no pressure, very small amount of pressure, I'm going to go ahead, just lightly shade the bottom underneath my pot. So very, very lightly, especially around my legs. Make it look like there is a bit of a shadow underneath there. You can add a bit of shadow underneath your coins too. Very, very lightly. It doesn't have to be even underneath, it's more like around. Very, very, very light shadow. You can smudge it with a Q-tip or you don't have to. It's, again, entirely up to you. concealer and not, I'll smudge it, but don't use the same Q-tip that you used here because it's going to be way too dark and you're just going to drag all that darkness in. You don't need that. Use the clean side of a Q-tip because you're working with a very, very light colors and you don't need to drag that darkness from earlier, or you can even not add your pencil and just use the darkness from your Q-tip. If you use the area that you used for earlier smudging, then you don't need to add any pencil. What you have here is going to be more than enough. So that's why I'm not doing it that way, because I feel like it will have too much. All right, and maybe I will lighten up a little bit my pot right here, just a touch. See, I like feathering it with my eraser, so I just take eraser and I put the corner of eraser with the edge, and it's like feather it. Pick up a little bit of that pencil. Great, I'm happy with it. I like it. I'll keep it. Awesome. Now that I have that, I'm going to move on to my gold. And I'm going to start with the gold that's inside the pot. And I will use yellow for starters. So I'm going to start with a very, very light yellow, layer of yellow on this whole thing. So I'm not really differentiating between my points. I'm just going to go ahead and color the whole thing with yellow, but not too dark. So they see quite lightly. And then with the same yellow, I'm going to go into my point, my horseshoe and color it in as well. And I'm going to go on to my little gold points here, and I'll do the same thing too. See, quite lightly. I'm not going too crazy with my yellow. Like, I mean, I'm not going too light either. You can tell that it's yellow. Oh yeah, Jess, you're right. Alcohol ink markers are going to be so much more difficult than pencils, but good for you for trying. Good for you. I would love to see how it turns out. So if you want to share in the end, I would love to see it. Yeah, alcohol ink markers. The thing with colored pencils is you can always erase it, right? If you don't like it. But with markers of any kind, once it's there, it's there. All right, so I have my first layer of my coins, and you're more than welcome to smudge this one too. So I'm gonna grab a fresh Q-tip. Just gonna go ahead and smudge it. All right, so once I have this, I'm gonna move on to my second color, which is gonna be orange. But so this light orange, remember my light orange? That's the color I'm gonna use next. So I'm gonna grab that. And this time, yes, you can shade with it, but also you need to actually do the shape. So let's start by just doing the shape. Shape them a bit with this orange. If you have actual gold color, you're more than welcome to use that instead of my made up gold. I actually do have a gold pencil too, but again, I was trying to use pencils that are more available in simpler sets because the set that I'm using right now, it's a really big set and it does have this gold color, but then trying to use other colors to show that it's possible to make gold. And also this gold doesn't even look like gold, to be honest with you. So again, up to you. I find that it looks a little more contrast and vibrant with this combination of color versus the gold pencil. But if it's easier and you have that, you're more than welcome to use it. You see now they start getting shaped up a little bit. And if you want to now, you can go ahead and color in some of them. So the ones that are be above others, are going to be a bit more shaded. So the ones that are below others are going to be a bit more shaded, right? So you can separate them that way too. You can shade certain sections. Just shade some of them. I don't do the same that I did on yellow. I don't do general shading all around. I'm more like a spot shade according to what I want to be more shaded. And then I'm going to move on to my horseshoe, and I'm going to start with an outline as well. And then just a little bit of shading here and there. So shade here a bit. Awesome. And it's up to you how much you shade. You can shade more, you can shade less. And then I'll do my coins on the bottom in a very similar way as well. I'm going to start by doing the outline. And then I'll shade them a little. A bit more on one corner than another. I don't shade them flat either. I try to shade them a bit more on one side than on other, just so it looks a little more interesting. That way they look like they're not just flat, they look like a bit on an angle, so the light hits the different sides differently. Great, and then I will do my last color on, well, almost last color on all of them, which is going to be my brown. I'm going to take my brown and I'll do something very similar to what I did with orange, but less. So I'm going to start with outline on my points. I'm not even going to shade it with them with brown, just the outline. You could shade it if you want to. There's nothing wrong with that. But I find that they're already a good color. They just need a bit more definition. And that's my points. The same with a horseshoe. You could shade it with brown if you wanted to, but I find that I don't need to. I think just a bit of outline is more than enough. You can shade if you want though, totally fine. And my coins on the bottom. Now I'm mostly going to add it to this bottom part. I'm not shading as much my upper part, just the lower part mostly. And if you do want to shade them a little bit, go for it. I don't think mine need much shading, but again, if you wanted to, nothing wrong with a touch of shading. Right, and that's my coins. They look pretty good. The only other color that I'll be adding to my coins is black. You can add it now, you can add it later. It doesn't really matter. I think I'm gonna skip it for now and just add it later when I add it everywhere else, because I'm gonna be adding some cool reliefs on my head and everywhere, a bit of contrast. So I think I'm gonna do it then. I'm gonna sharpen up my brown and all the other colors that I just used, so they're good to go for when I need them. With brown done, yellow to yellow, brown, orange, down, Maybe a little more. Also, guys, general question for you. Does anyone know of a really, really good sharpener? Because all the sharpeners I have, I'm not happy with. So if anyone is like, yes, my sharpener is the best sharpener I've ever used in my entire life, it's just so good that I want to recommend it to everyone, please let me know. I'm definitely on a hunt for one. All right, so I sharpened those, I put them aside. Next, I'm gonna move on to my greenery. And I'm gonna work, you can work on it just on a head at first and then on leaves, or you can work on all of them at the same time. You can do every single green element because we're gonna layer it just the same way that we layered our gold elements. We're gonna layer all our greenery, everything that's green. And we're gonna use our 3 different shades of green. Now, if you want to, in addition to that, you could always use yellow as well. Super optional, but you could do it. And also, if you have very limited set of colors, just 2 greens is more than enough. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with my light green. And I'm gonna go onto my hand and I'm gonna add a layer of a light green all over my hand. I'm gonna do a layer here. So you see, I'm not coloring it too dark overall. I'm doing fairly light layer. And in this case, because we're doing so light and we're going to smudge it as well, it doesn't matter how you do it this way, that way, in a circular motion. Doesn't matter at all because it should be pretty foggy in the end. All right, awesome. Now I'm going to grab, again, a fresh side of Q-tip, and I'm going to smudge all of this. Great. Now I'm going to move on to my second green, which is my, just fairly dark, not crazy dark, but fairly dark, like a standard base green, like a food coloring green. And I'm going to start shading. So I'm going to shade this around and then the right side a bit. So I'm going to start by going all around and then I'm going to shade this side a bit more. It's my top. In this part, I'm going to shade from both sides and I'm going to keep the lightest section right here. So this side is not going to be too shaded, not too far. This one is going to be pretty far. So let me show you what that looks like. So I'm going to start shading from the edge in, but not too far on this side. But the other side, I'm going to do the exact same thing from the edge in, but much further. Right, awesome. And then I'm going to shade my bottom. So again, I'm going to start by going around, and then I'm going to shade this section and this section. So it's similar to what I did here, it's just my latest section is going to stay right here. Right, so that's my second layer. And again, once I have that, I'm gonna smudge it. You could use the same edge of a Q-tip if you're, you know, not, if you don't have too many Q-tips at home. Totally fine to reuse this one. Or you can grab another sheet, another edge of Q-tip and just smudge all of this. And then we're gonna add the darkest green. And that's my third green right here. So with this one, I'm gonna apply a lot of pressure and I'm gonna be more selective of as where I add it. If you only have two greens, so let's say this two, that's okay. You're gonna go third layer with this color, so with the same dark green. Just this time, you're really gonna push on it. You're gonna apply a lot of pressure to get it darker. But I'm gonna apply even darker green. So again, I'm gonna start on top. I'm just gonna do something very similar to what I did with my second green, just a little less than what I did with my second green, and with lots more pressure. And add a bit on outline, then shade it slightly on both sides, slightly, not going far this time, slightly on both sides on the outline, but then I'm going to darken up this section. So out of my top, the darkest section is not going to be here. It's going to be right here. So a little bit towards the middle. So you see how here is the lightest section on the other side, and about same distance from the edge is going to be the darkest section right here. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to merge it towards the, spread it a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. Great. Awesome. Then the bottom. So again, I'm going to go into the outline, apply quite a bit of pressure, especially up front, because there is a thickness there too, right? So making the edge dark. And once you have that, we're going to shade a little bit from here, just a touch. And I'm going to shade a bit from here. And the darkest section is going to be right here. Yay, done. That's my head. I'm not going to be smudging this, by the way. But to finish my head right away, because why not, right? I'm going to go on to my yellow. I'm going to color in this yellow element with yellow, the buckle. And I'm going to move on to black. I'll color in everything that's supposed to be black with black. Uh-oh. Hi, yay. This is a very breaky black. Sorry, Vicky. It does definitely have a lot of steps. That's for sure. All right, that's one. And then I'm going to color in this. Feel free to add a little bit outline on the buckle too. And since we're already on the block, you can add a bit of outline, like a little flick here and there. I wouldn't say that you should add outline to everything, because I don't think that's the case. But if you want to add a tiny little flick here and there, you can to, add a bit of contrast to certain areas. Just make sure your black is really nice and sharp when you do that, because you want those lines nice and fine. And also, here's optional. Optional is yellow. And what you will do if you decide to go that route, you're going to take yellow and you're going to apply it right here. So all the light areas, you're going to shade a little bit with your yellow. Just a touch. Do you see the difference? It adds like a little pop. I did the yellow when I was originally making it. But again, this is good as is. But if you wanted to add something else, yellow it is. Just a touch on the light sections. All right, that's our hat. So now I'm going to move on to my leaves. And the steps are very similar to the steps on a hat. So we're going to do 3 colors with optional yellow. And we're going to start with light one, then medium one, then dark one. So for example, I'm going to grab my light one and I'm just going to shade all my leaves with my light one, similar to what I did with a hat. That's why I was mentioning earlier that you can do them simultaneously or you can do them one at a time because it's pretty much the same steps. So I'm going to go ahead and shade my leaves. All right, and once I have that, again, I'm going to go ahead and I'll smudge it. So I'll grab the first side of Q-tip. Let's grab this one. Awesome. Now I'm going to move on to my second leaf. And I'm going to do the outline plus a little bit of shading on some leaf, on all leaves, but not the whole leaf. Let me show you. Outline and then shading. So on this leaf, for example, I will do from right to left, but on every leaf you can do different. It doesn't have to be the exact same on all leaves. It can be if that's what you want to do, but it doesn't have to. So see, that's one leaf. Second leaf. So it's up to you whether they're going to be all the same or all different. So whatever you choose it to be. Okay, that's one. And I will do maybe this tiny 1 second. And do this one third. This one fourth. And this one fifth. For this one, I'm also going to add a line in the middle because it's pretty big. Okay, I'm going to start shading similar to what I did with the other leaves. From one side to another. And then I'm actually going to sharpen up my pencil for it because it's getting a little too dull. It's not the most ideal to work with. And then I'm going to add lines, almost like a linear shading for that darkest section. So this one like this, and this one like that. Awesome, 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 awesome. And my last one. I'm gonna move to my last screen. And similar to what I did on the hat, I'm just gonna darken up. You can darken up outline if you want, and then a little bit of shading. And your darker shading doesn't have to be the exact same as your second green shading. So for example, for my second green, I shaded from here, right? For my darkest one, I'm gonna shade all of them from the inside out. So from the bottom up, this is what I'm gonna do instead for my darkest shading. So do you see it doesn't have to be the exact same one as you did for your second green. It can if you want it to be, but it doesn't have to. Also, you can skip shading all around. You can just do the outline if that works better. See for yourself. You may already, your leaves may already be dark enough and you may feel like it's not necessary, or they may not. Right, that's our leaves. I'll still add a little bit of black there, but again, I'll do that later. I'll do it like a final touch. But I will add my optional yellow. So I'm going to put my greens aside. I'm going to grab my yellow. I'm going to go ahead and add it a little bit on the areas that are the lightest. So just like a little pop of yellow. Just adding the liveliness to the green. Not trying to make it super yellow. And then we're going to move on to our rainbow. And once our rainbow is done, we're going to go over everything that needs to be in black, and we'll add a little black details such as writing here, lots and outlines, and we'll be done. So this is pretty much there. Just the rainbow left, plus black details. So for the rainbow, you can start from here and go there. You can start from here and go there. Totally up to you. I'm going to start with my red. So I'm just going to grab my red here. And I'm going to start maybe on a hat. So somewhere right here. So I have more space left for the rest of my colors. So I don't, run out of space. If you start here, you're likely going to run out of space. And it's really difficult to work around the leaves, so try not to get there. Start somewhere here or here, the latest, I would say, the most to the right. Don't go any further. But yes, you can even start here. I'm going to start right here this time. I'm just going to start with slight line up. And then I'm going to make it wider. Make it just a little bit bigger than what you want to see in the end because you're going to overlap your orange over it. Just slightly bigger. And once you have it nice and light, you can start darkening it up. So you're going to start going over again and again over it, and just pushing a little harder where you start. So right here to darken up the bottom part. And you're more than welcome to smudge it. You don't have to, but you could if you still have like a clean side of a Q-tip or lots of Q-tips in the house. It wouldn't hurt to smudge it, but again, it's not a must here. Maybe we'll go a little further here. My bottom part, maybe we'll make it a little bit. All right, once I have my red, I'm gonna move to my orange. So I'm gonna put my red aside, grab my orange, and I'll do the same thing. I'll just start by doing it very, very lightly. And I will overlap my red a little bit to merge them properly into one another so they don't look like completely separated colors. We need to have somewhat of a transition. Doesn't have to be a big transition, but just a little bit is good to have. And again, I'm going to make my orange a little bit bigger than what I want to see in the end so that I can overlap my green over it. And I will smudge it because I still have one Q-tip to go. Awesome. Now I'm going to move on to my yellow and I'll do the same. Actually, I'm going to go a bit more on my orange here. All right. Should I smudge my yellow? I don't know. Yeah, let's stick with it. Let's smudge it. Why not? Maybe I'll go a little bit further too. So I have better merging with my green. Right, awesome. Next, light green. So I'm going to be using that lighter green color. Again, let's smudge it because why not? We're clearly sticking with that smudging thing. So let's do it. I still have a light green spot, so I'll use that. Now I'll move on to my light blue. And again, I'll smudge that. I'm running out of spots in the Q-tip, but I have enough. I have enough to make it through. And the last one is going to be my purple. Great, I love it. Let's nudge it. Yes, I have one more. Into Q-tip spot. Done, done, and done. My rainbow is beautiful. And now I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm gonna take my black and make sure it's nice and sharp, which in my case it's not. So let's sharpen it. Let's hope this one doesn't break. Oh no, broke again. Dang it. Right, sharpen it again. Let's hope this one works out. Okay, I think I can find the sharp edge there. I'll make it work. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and add a bit of black contrast here. So let's in here. You see a bit of sharper black outline. You don't have to add it everywhere. Just choose a couple spots. I mean, if you want to add it everywhere, you can, but that's not what I would be doing. You'll only add a few spots of that. Yeah, I like that. That looks good. Then I'm gonna go on my pot. Maybe I'll add a bit of sharper outline here too. Maybe even here. Same with a horseshoe. And I'll put my good luck wording and any decoration that you want to have on your horseshoe. Great, great, great. And after that, I'm gonna go on my clover. Add a bit of contrast there onto outline. Again, I'm not doing it everywhere. I'm just choosing a few spots. You find that the whole thing doesn't need the outlining. And maybe just a touch on my gold. You don't have to. If you feel like it's all good and it doesn't need the darkness, don't add it. And ta-da! That's pretty much it. After that, the last thing that is left for me here is signature. So I'm gonna go ahead and I will put my initials there. Hope you didn't sign this one either. I definitely should. I'll sign both of them. Ta-da! It's done, done, and done. So guys, I would love to see your results. Please share them with us. There should be a link in the description of this video. I will also double check it once I finish this live tutorial. I'm gonna go into the description. I'll just double check that there is a link there to where you can post them. I would love to see them. If you are a Facebook user, if you do use Facebook, we have a group on Facebook that we always encourage everyone to share their results in. And you can check what other people do as well, which is a cool thing, because then it makes us feel like we did it all in the same room, right? Then we can see everyone's results and we're all over the world. So feel free to check that and feel free to post your results. No pressure though. If you're shy and you don't want to, that's okay. We're just happy you joined. And if you guys super enjoyed this, you're like, yes, that was great. I absolutely loved it. And so did my family. You can always say thank you by tipping me. I will never say no to that. Don't feel pressured. But if that's your way of saying thank you, you're welcome to do that. There is a link in the description of this video. You can use that. It's a PayPal link. I just choose send money versus request money because that would be pretty much the opposite. And also, if you guys are new to this channel, feel free to like and subscribe. We have a lot of videos already uploaded and live events that we already hosted here, but we'll also add at least one video or event every week. Some weeks is way more than that. But yeah, stay tuned and feel free to check out what we have. Yay! Thanks for joining, Vicky. Were you able to follow along and were you like, no, next time? And guys, if you have any questions, I will give everyone maybe a couple more minutes before I disconnect to ask any questions that you may have, just so I can help you out if anyone needs help with anything. I'm going to sharpen my pencils because, again, I don't like putting them away not sharpened. Then when I need them, I'll have to sharpen them. Maybe like that. Oh, and guys, remember, if you come across a really, really good sharpener, please let me know which one that is. Just if you ever do. You can mention it in comment to this video. Alrighty, well, it sounds like no one has any pressing questions, and you guys are more than welcome to. If you do have questions later, just write them in the comments to this video. We will get back to you, probably not right away because we don't monitor comments that closely, but we will get back to you, I promise that. Alrighty, guys, thank you all for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your night. Bye, everyone.